Okay, so it's time for us to dive into Knightsend finally. And guys, let me tell y'all, I almost did not do Knightsend at all. And the reason why, because, well, Night Quest. Now, if you're new to DC Comics and you have no idea what I'm talking about, let me explain real quickly. When it came to Knightfall, it was technically a trilogy. You had Knightfall, Night Quest, and Knightsend. Now, when it came to Knightfall, it was all about the idea of Bruce Wayne getting his back broken by Bane. Now, Night Quest was more of John Paul Valley being able to be the new Batman and going out of his way to protect Gotham, but only getting worse as time went by. Now, technically, when it came to Night Quest, you had two different Night Quests. You had Night Quest the Crusade and Night Quest the Search. Now, the Crusade was all about John Paul Valley. The Search was more about Bruce Wayne going around the world to save Sandra Kinsolving and Jack Drake, the father to Tim Drake. And really, for me, Night Quest was just not that great. Like, yes, the Search for me was not that bad. The Crusade, it was just more of, where are you trying to go with this storyline? Like, yes, they did show us over time that John Paul Valley was becoming this darker character, somebody who should not be Batman. But for me, the overall story was just okay. And so really, when it came to Knightsend, I was kind of wondering, should I even cover it? But then I realized, no, we already did Knightfall, Night Quest, so yes, we got to do Knightsend. Now, for you new DC fans out there, Knightsend brings back Bruce Wayne as Batman after having his back broken but being healed up by Sandra Kinsolving. You see, in Night Quest The Search, we had learned that for Sandra Kinsolving, she had the ability to heal people. She had the healing touch. And so she was able to properly heal up Bruce Wayne. Now, after doing that, you now have Bruce Wayne trying to come back as Batman, but he realized that he's not ready yet because for that short period of time where he was no longer Batman and you had John Paul being Batman for him, his body is not used to the idea of being Batman. His body forgot what it's like to be Batman, the moves he did to be a great hero. And so it's him right now trying to relearn all the different skills that he had learned in the past to be Batman so that he is able to be Batman once again. And so when it came to the end of Night Quest The Search, or really Night Quest, the whole storyline, you had Bruce Wayne tell Robin that he has to go to somebody who can properly train him, and that would be Lady Shiva. And a matter of fact, we do pick up with Lady Shiva going after a character known as the Armless Master. And here's the reason why. Because for Lady Shiva, her main goal is to prove that she is the best fighter out there. But to be able to do that, she has to go after different people who may or may not be better than her. And so right now, her next target is the Armless Master. Now, before you had these two characters battle against each other, he tells her, if you try to kill me off, if you do kill me off, I'm telling you right now, there were 7 people I had trained over the years. Those people were able to earn the name Master for their own. If you kill me off, they will come after you to get revenge for my death. Because of Shiva, she wants somebody to watch the battle. She tells them, call in your attendant because I want them to witness me killing you off. And I want her to go tell your old people that I was the one who had killed you off. Now, before you have the two characters battle, we see her put on this mask, this bat mask. And this mask is going to be very important for today's video. But either way, you do have Lady Shiva go out of her way to kill off the Armless Master. But his attendant watched the entire thing. And so, of course, she'll go out of her way to tell his old pupils what happened to their old master, that he was killed off by somebody who wore this bat mask. But now we have to jump back in time. And when we do, we pick up with Bruce Wayne going out of his way to meet up with Lady Shiva. Now, as soon as he does meet up with her, right off the bat, she said, you're different. Something about you is different. And you have Bruce tell her, I'm no longer that man I used to be. I'm no longer the Batman. And so the reason why I came to you is to hopefully learn how to fight once again so that I am able to be that man I used to be in the past, so that I'm able to retrieve my lost mantle. And so for her, she's kind of wondering, why in the world should she go out of her way to train somebody who's no longer worthy of her time, no longer worthy to be a fighter for her to fight down the road? But you have Bruce say, well, here's the catch. You see, once you're able to train me to get me back up to where I used to be, I'll become that worthy fighter for you again. Somebody that you might fight again down the road to see who is the better fighter. And so just like that, she was down with the idea to train him, because now there's a possibility that she will be able to get him back to where he used to be and then fight him to see who is the better fighter. And so she says, fine, let's train. And so over time, he does get better. But the problem is that once she begins to teach him different moves when it comes to killing people, he has to stop her, because to him, it's more of, whoa, wait a second. I came here to learn how to be a better fighter. I didn't come here to learn how to be a killer. But she says, that right there is your problem, because you're not ready to kill somebody when you need to be ready to kill somebody, because you never know when that time could possibly come. But at the same time, for her, it's an insult. You came out of your way to find me, to waste my time, to train you, to hopefully make you a worthy opponent. And here I am trying to teach you different moves that can help you out there in the field. And you tell me no, because it's the whole idea of killing. She hates him for that right then and there. But she tells him there's other ways to train him. And she tells him, come back 2 days later and she'll have something for him to wear, something to use. And so now we jump forward in time. And when we do, we now pick up after you had Lady Shiva go out of her way to kill the armless master. And so now we pick up with her handing Bruce Wayne the bat mask. Now, we do learn here the name of the mask is actually called the Mask of Tengu. It's a symbol of the bat spirit being more exact. But it's her saying, until you are ready to take up your mantle once again, at least wear this mask. And matter of fact, go to this address right here to begin your training. Now, let's not forget that she had just killed off the armless master in that mask in front of his attendant. And so as we jump over to the attendant, we see her going out of her way to tell the 7 people who were trained by the armless master that their old master was killed off by somebody who wore the Mask of Tengu. And so now these 7 different people will go after Bruce Wayne, believing that he was the one who had killed off their master. Now we have to jump over to John Paul Valley. Now, for John Paul Valley, he is the Batman at this point in time in DC Comics. But unfortunately, when we do jump over to him, he's being confronted by the system. Now, we have talked about this before. You see, for the system, it's a program that was put in his mind by his father to make sure that he would be ready to become the next Azrael. Let me explain. You see, for John Paul Valley and his family, they have belonged to the Order of St. Dumas. Now, the Order of St. Dumas broke away from the Templar Knights in the 14th or 15th century, and it began to follow a guy known as St. Dumas. Now, over the years, they always had their avenging angel by their side to go after their different opponents who may have crossed the line with the order. And that avenging angel would always be Azrael. Now, for John Paul Valley, he is the latest Azrael. His father was the previous one. But after his father had died, we had learned that his father had put something in his mind called the system. You see, for the system, it was the whole idea of making sure that John Paul Valley would be ready to become the next Batman. The system would teach him everything about the Order of St. Dumas, but also making sure that he'll be a great fighter as Azrael. But here comes the big catch. As soon as you had the system get activated, Bruce Wayne swooped in and said, actually, how about this? Why don't you go ahead and join the Bat family? And then sooner or later, you might become the next Batman for Gotham City. All those things happened in a short period of time. But the problem was, after John Paul became Batman, he became a whole lot darker, a whole lot more aggressive. The man was crossing lines left and right. And so, with all that happening, he was then confronted by the system, where he was now being confronted by the spirits of Saint Dumas and also his father as well. Now, his father, that spirit got locked away, but right now it's him talking to Saint Dumas, who's saying, "You are a failure. Like, you failed as Azrael, and then you ran over the Batman or Bruce Wayne and became the next protector of Gotham City. And I told you to become the next protector, but now I'm telling you, you're also a failure in that as well." And so for John Paul, he's wondering, why in the world is the spirit calling me a failure? But now we have to transition back over to Bruce Wayne. Now, when we do, it's really more of Bruce Wayne going back over to the temple that had belonged to the Armless Master. But here's the problem. You see, for Bruce, he has no idea that technically he's being set up. When he walks into the room, he's being confronted by one of the 7 warriors who was trained by the Armless Master. And this warrior, he's very upset with Bruce Wayne. He's all like, "Oh, look, it's you. It's the guy who's wearing the mask of Tengu, the guy who has supposedly killed off my master. And so I am here to get revenge." And so Bruce Wayne, he realized, okay, yeah, I've been set up, but unfortunately, I don't have a choice here. I have to now go out of my way to fight against this guy. Now, as the fight goes on, is Bruce realizing how much he had forgotten when it comes to knowing how to fight against somebody like this guy right here. He's barely getting by. Now, by the end of the battle, you have Bruce be able to win the battle. But at the same time, Bruce realized that if this guy right here believed that he was the one who had killed off the Armless Master, then the others will then sooner or later come after him. But each one will be better than the previous one, which means for Bruce Wayne, if he has struggled with this one alone, the next one might have the ability to kill him off. But for Bruce Wayne, he's very confident in the idea that he should be able to take them all on and win. But you didn't have Bruce go out of his way to confront Lady Shiva. And when he does, he tells her like, "Hey, I know that you killed off their master, and now they're coming after me because I'm wearing the mask of Tengu." But it's her saying, "Yeah, you're right, but I did this for a special reason. And the reason why? To make you better. Because here's the thing, each one will be stronger than the last one. And sooner or later, you're going to have to learn that you're going to have to kill people if you want to survive, to prove that you are worthy." Now, we already know. For Bruce Wayne, there's no way the man going to kill anybody at all. And matter of fact, he tells her that. But once he does tell her that, she does get very upset. But she's kind of hoping that sooner or later he does cross that line to make him worthy enough for her to fight again, to prove that she is a great fighter. Now, Bruce leaves, but you have her go out of her way to kill off the guy that Bruce had just defeated. And the reason why, because to her, he lost. He should be dead. And matter of fact, because he did lose, and because Bruce did not kill him off, that he should have killed himself. But you have her do his work for him. Getting back over to John Paul Valley, you have John Paul Valley still kind of struggling, fighting against the system in his mind, fighting against the spirit of Saint Dumas. But while doing that, you didn't have Robin there just taking photos of him. And the reason why, because, well, Bruce told Tim, "I need you to watch John Paul Valley to make sure that he does not cross even more lines when it comes to him being Batman, but to also observe his behavior." And so for Tim Drake, it's just taking photos left and right. But getting back over to John Paul Valley, you have him going after a group of characters called the Gun Runners. Now, for me personally, I don't know why I like the name so much, but for me, Kind of cool name of a crew. But either way, for the gun runners, you do have John Paul Valley go after them because they're now the newest gang who's trying to cause problems in Gotham City. And with him still being the protector of Gotham, they gotta go. And so you have John Paul going out of his way to beat them down. But once again, we're getting another example of the idea of him just getting more aggressive as Batman, crossing more lines. Now, for John Paul Valley, once he's able to stop the entire gang, he finds this medal. And this medal is very important. Here's the reason why. Because the medal belongs to somebody known as Carlton Leha. Now, Carlton Leha is very important, and the reason why, because he was somebody who broke away from the Order of St. Dumas, but he was also able to build up his own criminal empire. But also, he was the person who had shot John Paul Valley's father. And so for John Paul Valley, he's kind of like, oh, hold up now. I got to find Leha. If he's still around, that means the gun runners belong to him, which also means he's somewhere out there and I have to stop him. But getting back over to Bruce, you have Bruce right now just out there trying his best to train, trying his best to just get ready for his next opponent. And honestly, he's then confronted by his next opponent, one of the 7 masters. Now, for this one, he's supposed to be better than the last one. And honestly, he proves that because for Bruce Wayne, he was barely able to win this battle. And really, for Bruce Wayne, the only reason why he won this battle because he had a rock nearby that he was able to use in the battle to take this guy down. But once again, you have Bruce Wayne not trying to kill anybody at all. Now, when Bruce and him go back to the home of Lady Shiva, they find the dead body of the previous master that Bruce had defeated. And so you have Bruce tell this master, go tell the others about me. Go tell them I am waiting for them. Now, for Bruce, he realized that he has a lot of work to do because that's now 2 battles where he had barely survived. And really, this last one, he only survived because he had a rock nearby. Now, the first chapter of Knightsend really does end with Bruce Wayne kind of like having a flashback to his first night being Batman, where he had taken that leap off a building. But for him, it was more of a leap into the abyss. And he realized that he's not ready to step in back into that role of Batman because he's not ready to take that leap back into the abyss once again, like he did on his first night being Batman. And so it's him saying he will continue to train until he is officially ready to become the Batman once again. Now, for the sake of time for our coverage over Knightsend, I'm going to go ahead and cover the second chapter of this event. And so the second chapter does take place in Shadow of the Bat, issue number 29. Now, we do pick up with Bruce Wayne still trying to train, trying his best to get his body back into shape once again. But while doing that, we learn that he's currently on the battlegrounds for his next battle against the next master that he has to defeat. And so while out there and we see him cutting some wood, he sees a hawk fly by. Now for him, he believes the hawk has some kind of connection to his next opponent. And so you have Bruce go into hiding to only find out that his next opponent is not there at all. It's just Bruce right now trying his best to be prepared for anything. But that hawk, it does continue to fly back into the city of Gotham City. But while doing that, it does catch a bat. And when it does that, you have Bruce Wayne's next opponent see it. And so for his next opponent, he believes with the hawk being able to catch that bat, it must be a sign of a good omen that he should be able to defeat Bruce Wayne. But while you have Bruce Wayne doing that, we then jump over to John Paul Valley. Now for John Paul, he's once again being confronted by the Order of St. Dumas, the Spirit of St. Dumas, who's once again calling him a failure. But this time you have St. Dumas telling John Paul why he is a failure. It's him saying, you were supposed to be the one to stop Carlton, this person who had killed off other members of the Order of St. Dumas. But instead of doing that, you ran away. And with you running away, you ran over to a different role, the protector of Batman. But here you are now failing in that part as well too. And so for John Paul, he's crying out. He's like, dude, this is not easy. I'm trying my best. But St. Dumas is continuing to just beat down on John Paul Valley. Now for John Paul, he believes it has to be some kind of trick being done by Bruce Wayne, so that sooner or later Bruce will be able to retake the mantle of Batman. And so for John Paul, he's once again motivated to be Batman, but to also find Carlston. But for Robin, you have Robin trying his best to figure out what was that medal that John Paul Valley had picked up earlier. Now, we already know it belongs to the Order of St. Dumas, but for Robin, he doesn't know that. Now, guys, I feel old here because you have Robin sent a fax over to Bruce Wayne's apartment. A fax. I was sitting here kind of like, man, I feel old. But you know what's wild? Fax machines are still around. Matter of fact, guys, go to a nearby FedEx. You might find one there. Either way, for Robin, it's him hoping to get some answers on the medal that John Paul Valley had found earlier. So once you have Robin arrive at the apartment of Bruce Wayne, you have Bruce tell Robin like, yeah, man, that medal belongs to one person only, and that will be Carlton. Now, for Robin, he wants to know more about the medal, but you have Bruce say, before we are able to talk more about it, we have to wait for one more person to arrive. And he is talking about Dick Grayson. Nightwing has arrived. And really, it's more Bruce Wayne being able to catch up Nightwing of what's happening in Gotham City with Azrael and him being the new Batman, but also him being from the Order of St. Dumas. And so once you have Nightwing and also Robin come to a full understanding, it's all like, hey, do we all agree to work together? They say yes. Bruce says yes, and their main goal is to find a way to bring down John Paul Valley. And speaking of John Paul Valley, he's out there again as Batman, but his main goal is to use the gun runners to find Carlston. And so you have John Paul call up a guy known as Rudy, and Rudy might be able to help John Paul find the person that he is looking for. But while you have John Paul doing that, we jump back over to Dick Grayson and also Tim Drake. Now for Bruce, he told them, like, your job right now is to just watch over John Paul Valley to make sure he does not cross any more lines at all, but also see what he is up to. And so for Dick and also Tim, their job is that, but of course they see some bad guys that need a good beating. So you have the two characters being able to do that, but it's also kind of building up the bond between those two characters right there, because by this point in time in DC Comics, Jason was still dead and there was no Damian yet. And so it's kind of like these two beginning that brother relationship. But as we transition back over to John Paul Valley, you have John Paul go out of his way to find this Rudy guy because he believes Rudy, who's part of the gun runners, might be able to get him over to Carlton. But you have Rudy say, dude, I have not seen Carlton in many months. I have no idea what you are talking about. Now for John Paul Valley, he does not believe the guy at all. But while you have John Paul trying to get that information out of him, he doesn't realize that, well, a few other members of the Gun Riders are able to come from behind and get the jump on him. And so now it's our new Batman here struggling to fight against a few members of the Gun Runners. But while you have John Paul Valley struggling with those guys, as we jump back over to Bruce Wayne, well, now he's struggling to fight against his next opponent, because once you have Bruce go back to the battlegrounds, he's then confronted by the next of the Seven Masters. And we see Bruce trying his best to just continue to fight against this person. But this person has set up different traps to throw Bruce Wayne off. And Bruce right now is saying that it took him a lifetime to become the man he was when he was Batman. But now he's trying to do all that training in a short period of time. But the problem is, can his body go back to where it used to be? But on top of that, it's also him wondering, maybe my glory days are just officially gone. But he's trying his best to hang on still. But can I say, I love what the book is trying to achieve here. It's showing us both John Paul Valley and Bruce Wayne both struggling to continue on. But now you're going to have both men being able to overcome their situation, because as you jump back over to John Paul Valley, we're now seeing him be able to take on the gun runners, being able to go toe to toe with them and actually trying to stop them, but also get his hands on Rudy so that he can get the information that he was looking for. But when we jump over to Bruce Wayne, we're seeing Bruce beginning to be able to overcome his opponent. But it's now Bruce kind of realizing that maybe, just maybe, this is the kind of training he needs. So maybe technically what Lady Shiva done for him was the right thing, because now he is able to have a real opponent, a real fight. His life is on the line. And so with all that being so real, he knows he has to overcome this challenge and being able to defeat his opponent, which he's able to do, luckily, in this storyline. So that is why I kind of like how the story is being told to us. You have both men being able to at first struggle, but then being able to overcome their challenge. Now, as we jump back over to John Paul Valley, we're seeing him being able to get his hands on Rudy, hoping to get information out of him. But unfortunately, Rudy doesn't know anything about Carlston at all. But for John Paul Valley, it's still great to have Rudy around because he can spread Batman's name around to other criminals in the city. And so to close on today's video, as we get back over to Bruce Wayne, you have Bruce being able to defeat his opponent. And so now Bruce has defeated at least 3 of the 7 masters, but there's still 4 more going to come after him down the road in this storyline. And so for Bruce, he loves the idea of kind of going up against these opponents. Now for Bruce, he's kind of hoping that he'll get back to the point where he wants to be very quickly, but at the same time, he knows that it might still take a while before he's able to get back to that point. But either way, this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see you on the next comic book video.